Hi everybody. So here it is. Welcome to the flip through for my completed December daily book. I am actually videoing this on the 1st of January, and I scrapbook in my book including the 1st of January. So after I finished that layout for today and did a little bonus page for you because I found something I needed to include, I decided to do this flip through. So this is the 2-inch Christmas binder, and mine is really full, but I have 39 days worth of layouts in here. So I'm really glad I used this. I think most years my books are looking like that, only like completely full. So I'm going to walk through. I won't tell you all the specifics to all the products, and I also may break this into two depending on how long it's getting. I'm going to keep checking that. So if you have specific questions about things I've used, just let me know, because, or ask me in the comments, and I'll get back to you. I do read and answer my comments if I hear them. So to start out, I did decorate my cover here that you didn't see. Everything else, I do have a video for everything else in here. So if you have any questions, you can also go back to the individual videos. But I decorated them with the American Crafts snowflakes. I think Shamel used these this year. And then after I did the first page, I didn't think it was impactful enough and had a good enough focus, so I put in this little transparency with the Merry Christmas. All of these white acrylic words come from Elle Studio. They were there for Christmas. Now this one has broken. My H has broken just because it's so thick here. So here's my first page. It's just a 4-up. I'm using a Simple Stories, all the Simple Stories page protectors as well too. So this is the story of my Thanksgiving Day, and I did do some stapling here, and it's something that now that I think about, I didn't do much of that towards the end of the book. I might go back and add some in at the end. We'll see. Another 4-up page here for day 2 with starting to decorate with the mess of my house in the midst of decorating, and then what it looks like, some of the pieces when I'm all done. Here was the story of me trying to put up my main Christmas tree when I discovered that I'd forgotten that the lights weren't working on it, and I had wanted to get a new tree but forgot, and then when I turned it on, another thing of lights didn't work. So I got a new tree mid-decorating. I love this. This is an old 2-piece card, I believe, although it might be Elle Studio from last year too, now that I think about it. But anyway, I love how those 3x4 wood veneer cards look, and I didn't have any of those in anything else this year. I just had this one left, so I'm glad that it's used. And I like how I used the little extra dots on these wood veneers. I think when you do that, it just layers another layer of dimension. This is the story of one of my Christmas trees, so I'm using some of the clear acrylics from Elle Studio here. A little bit of washi tape. I didn't use a ton of that this year, but I do have washi tape in there. And these are just close-ups. I've taken full pictures of this tree before, so I didn't need to do that. This is another wood veneer piece. I love how this turned out with the Elle Studio wood veneer on the card. The one thing I forgot to mention, all those acrylic pieces are on the outside, the white ones, and then anytime I use these chunky, they're pretty chunky, I think you can see that, acrylics, clear acrylics from Elle Studio. They went on the outside because originally I had some of them on the inside and the cards were coming out because they were too thick. Okay, so I used a lot of die cuts, a lot of cut aparts and I've combined all sorts of seasons here, or years worth of Elle Studio products and some American Crafts products as well. You can find a prep video, and then I go through a lot of that for you. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. This page, I love how it turned out. I ended up using a 4x6 Simple Stories flip, and I don't know that I did that anywhere else except maybe one other time. I did it early, and then I just didn't do it after that. So love how this turned out. Again, a little bit more washi, and then this gives you some nice breathing room to just kind of rest your eyes. And then when you come in here, here's the other photos and all the journaling, and that photo wasn't that great, so I didn't mind covering that up. I wanted to be able to see it, but I didn't need to see it on display all the time. a little story about donating my old tree. And these 4x4 pockets from Simple Stories then use a 2-inch strip, and I treat them differently and put different things on it depending. In this case, I just used a tree with the number on it. I did not use a lot of 4x4s this year. I think last year and 2 years ago I used a ton of them, so kind of interesting how that goes from year to year, what I use. This is day 8. This time I used the 2x2 for journaling on, and the white acrylic is on the outside here, but these enamel stars are on the inside. So sometimes the enamel dots and stars were on the inside of pages, sometimes they were on the outside. It depended. So that was just a story of making some homemade limoncello, which in the end turned out fabulous, and my siblings loved it. It was part of their present. This was a little story about doing some final Christmas shopping, and I have a back page to this one. So I was at 2 different places, so the day 9 is actually on the back side of this and not the front side. So I like to get it in the spread somewhere, but it doesn't matter to me where, and it talks about this page as well, so you know that that belongs with day 9. And sometimes I like, when I'm doing these pages with 3x4s in it, I sometimes like just to use a plain card in there that's not a photo, just again to give you some breathing room. The next day it was a special book club for us, and we went to a Christmas market, then went out to dinner. So this is just a guest loyalty card from the restaurant, so that I had, I like to have little ephemera pieces. And then I used a really cool piece here from Michaels that I just glued on that says "Eat, Drink, and Be Merry." And this is flat, so it's sitting inside. I just like the way those all turned out. This is a page about our first kind of big snowstorm. I really love recording that because next year I can look back, or in future years I can look back and say, oh yeah, we had snow earlier in the month. And then this is the acrylic snowflake I put out. Originally on that acrylic snowflake, if you watch this day 11, and the 11 is up here on this little tab, I do like it when things stick up out of the book too. When I originally did day 11, I had this little rhinestone on it, but it just made it so much thicker that I believe I took it off either earlier this week, or well, actually last week I think I took it off. All right, the next page is day 12. And I did use a resting element here. I love how this looks. I don't think I did much of this year. It just didn't work for me with the amount of pictures I had. So it's really a vellum piece with a piece over the top. And then when you turn it, there's another vellum piece in the back. And you can see some of the glue and stuff, but it really doesn't bother me all that much. I just like having that little see-through element so that you can peek through to look at it. So then this is day 13, and again here I have 2 cards that are just kind of resting cards. Talked a little bit about my decor here, and I have this little piece here that says joy on it. That's a wood piece. That happened to be my one little word for 2016. 2017 will be flourish, and you will see a video coming up about that. This is my Christmas card this year. Some years I stick it in the 6x8 pocket. This year I just punched holes in it and left it as is. And then it's resting because this is the page that really talks about that Christmas card. But I thought it was, I didn't love how it worked with my card, although I did put some blue elements in here. So what I did, it was too busy. So what I did is I just found a piece of star vellum, put a couple little pieces on there, and now this has that background to sit on. You can still see the page behind it, and then there's the page behind it that actually has a photograph of me mailing them, and then just, this is mailing the cards, but this talks about naughty and nice tasks, and as much as I love having Christmas cards done, I don't like doing them, so it just worked. That was my number one. Sometimes I wrote things were nice, and sometimes I did that they were naughty, and I used the enamel dots to indicate whether they were naughty or nice. Here's another, here's a baking page. This is another 2 up. This is kind of this is 2 4x6 pockets, but I used a 3x4 card, and all I did here was create a 4x6 card from the back of some pattern paper that had a grid on it, and I put the photograph on one of it. And yay for this. This is one of the elements I used up this year. I used up those little candy enamel dots there. This page goes together here. This is about my wrapping, and so what I did is some years I put the wrapping in a 6x8 pocket. This year I used this bag from Pebbles, and in here are all my receipts from Christmas and a sample of my wrapping paper. This is really handy because if you need to return something, it's there, but also for posterity, it's there. Now those receipts will fade, so if you really are going to be militant, you want to really keep those. The idea behind that is you should probably copy them onto some archivally safe cardstock or something like that, and then you could put those in there. So, you know, I'm not that crazy about worrying about that thing, you know, that it can last however they last. And then behind that is just a picture of my wrappings here. And then this is a printout of the list that I keep on my iPad during the Christmas season, or even before, when I get my first ideas for Christmas gifts, I start writing them down. And then when they're done, I put a little hash mark next to them and the amount that the present was, so that I know who I still have to shop for. This is the story of a day at work where we had a special day in the town. They had a Christmas celebration, so just some stories and a silly picture of me wearing a fun headband. It was a really neat day. I love this photo. This is one of my favorite photos of the season. I hope you can see that. It's just the ornaments and things, and this is the space, our lobby. So it's just kind of fun seeing all those photos. And then this is the same day but later that night, where I met friends for dinner afterwards. In the meantime, I had a little more time in between, so I went to Starbucks, and here's a picture of the one of the red Christmas cups, and then the restaurant we ate at, and then this is just the story of the whole day. And then I didn't like how plain this was, so I decided it was time also anyway for some more vellum. So I found this piece of candy cane vellum, and then I put this little Merry Christmas on it and a couple puffy stickers, and it divides it what's going to happen next, because what's going to be happening next is more from an ephemera perspective. It's not like gorgeous. So this is a business card and a couple of promotional things and a menu from a bakery tour that we did, that my mom, my sister, and I did, where we toured the ethnic bakeries in my area. And then there's the three of us with a picture from one of the bakeries. So I did have this bag. I kept my bag, and I was going to try to put it in here, but a donut was inside of that, and I just couldn't get it clean. And, you know, I played with it back and forth, just thinking, oh, I'll just risk it for however long. But, you know, I thought the thought of bugs and stuff in it was not thrilling. So I did throw that out yesterday, finally gave up on that idea. All right. And then this page is just a full, basically 6x8 photo of a view of my living room with the Christmas tree kind of, or part of the Christmas tree in front of it. It's just how things looked right then on that date, and I really love that. It was an impromptu picture just to test something. I was trying to figure out, my photos weren't going automatically into my photo stream in my laptop, which they are still not, and I'm having problems figuring out. But anyway, I was testing this out and just took this picture and loved it. So I ended up using that picture on a day where I didn't have anything else going on. I did make 2 mistakes in dates here. But you know what? In the scheme of things, you'll be able to figure out what dates it is. I was going to reprint this all, but you know what? I am not going to be that crazy about this. It's fine. I'm not so worried about it if that's what happens. All right. So that's day 19 and day 19, and day 20 is another one of those pockets. Again, 4x4 pockets with an ornament that one of my friends bought, of my group of very good friends who were friends from high school and even earlier than that. 2 of the women I've known since 1st grade. This time in this 2x2 space, I just used it for a little date thing and a little puffy sticker. And over here, again, I just used it for the number. And here's the acrylics, again, on the outside, because I was concerned about it. This little piece that says, "Don't mind me, I'll just be over here crying and crafting and watching Hallmark movies," for day 21. There wasn't a lot of going on here, but I found this on Facebook. It's from Pebbles. And if you looked at it right here, it says Pebbles here. So I just took a sticker, or this was a printable, and just cut it out, and it says favorite. And it is, watching Hallmark movies and crafting is one of my favorite things during the holidays. So that worked out really well. The next page, day 22, it got very cold for a few days here in my neck of the woods. So I took a screenshot of my phone with the temperature when I got up in the morning. It was freezing cold, and the wind chills, so it says, if you read this, it's 5 below, but we were having wind chills of 25 below. It was cold. And I just like how with this, I have a mix of things inside and outside the pockets. The wood veneers are inside the pockets. This flare badge is outside. And I just changed that because it was coming out. And I just, again, this is one of those pages where there's a lot of resting space right here. A lot of white space for your eye just to rest. And I like how that turned out. The next day, because the cold wasn't enough, we were going to have quite a bit of snow. This ended up that we had, in my area, we had 8 to 9 inches of snow in a 2-day period, but it wasn't a full 48 hours. So it was a lot of snow. So what I did is I went to the Facebook page for one of the stations because I knew that they had maps and that kind of stuff on there. And I just screen captured this shot or just saved. I don't remember if I just actually saved the photo or did a screenshot first, but one of the two. And then I just printed out and used it. So, and then this, you can barely see it, but it's a photograph. It's snowing here, and there's this sweet little cardinal here that's sitting in the tree there. And flare again on the outside. The next page is a page of, this is the second day of this. This is Friday, this is Saturday. I worked in the morning and then went to lunch with a friend. So this is the menu from just a copy of the menu. And that I saved the photo from their webpage on the internet. You can do that, or you could do it right there when you were there. And then on my way home, it really started to snow, and I take some backcountry roads, so I stopped the car completely and took this shot out my front window just so that I could remember that. And I'm using these wood veneers. I wasn't sure I was going to like them, but now I understand why why they thinned them, because these you can actually put in the pockets versus their ones previous were pretty thick, and everything would have slid. Day 18 is a little story about the Packers, a Packers win. So we were very excited to see that over the Chicago Bears. It meant that there was some hope for them to go to the playoffs. And because their colors are green and gold, this is all green and gold. This is the only place in the book where I used any gold, but it wouldn't, another color probably wouldn't have been true to what they, the color of the team. So that's why I use this. The next two pages I'm putting in, they're in day 25 on 12/18. They really don't belong there necessarily. I don't know where they would belong necessarily, but there's 7 photos of gifts that clients gave me, or that I use money from clients to buy a gift here. And I had forgotten about these photos until yesterday when I was printing the Happy New Year photo, which I was going to use today. And so I went back and I'm like, oh, I could do it now, but I really like the way the book ended with the Happy New Year. So I didn't want to just add these in. So what I did is I went back in and I found a place where I really didn't love the way the 2 pages sat together. So this one, if you can see it, is very blue, and this is very green. There is some green in here. I did that on purpose, and some green here, but it just wasn't reading very green. So I went back in and I put this page in between. So here I've got the red and green to marry back to the green here, and I just realized when I put this in, I got that in wrong. There we go. Okay. So there's the red and green here marrying back to the green on this page. And then when you turn it, there's a lot of blue here with some red and green to marry back to this page. And I love how this all works together now. And then on the journaling card, I just talked about how generous my clients were and how nice it was that they did all these things for me. This page I love. This is my shaker pocket page. I'm going to take this out so you can see this. I just I love how this worked out. It's one of my favorite pages in my book, just because it's so different. I have since, part of the gifts for my clients, I just bought a We Are Memory Keepers fuse tool. So I may never need to sew a pocket again once I figure out how to do that, but I just took my sewing machine and sewed this shut. That's how I did that. So just like the way that turned out. And it's really fun because it's, you know, you can see through to the next page, and it's just a fun element. Here's the back side of that page. It looks kind of nice here. The story of my ornament that I got this year. Nothing too exciting, but I did use the 2 4x4s with that 2-inch strip. And that's how I treated this 2-inch strip. The only place I have a shaker pocket is with this. And I kind of like that because these are hard to figure out what to do. So it's kind of nice that, you know, you could do a whole book with shaker pockets in it, especially if you have the fuse tool, I think, because it'll go faster. All right, this next page is nothing too exciting. It was just more of a normal day at my house. I think I was working this day, so I just documented some of the decor about my house and just used a journaling card and then a couple of just filler cards to fill in this day. This next day is the day that I made cookies, and I just took some, and this was actually, the cookie process was actually over 2 days, but I took the photos and put this in on the last day. And, you know, just the making of the dough and the cutting out process and baking and the frosting baking, and then all the cookies that are done. I had gone to, I had to go get an ingredient. I don't remember what it was. I think it was more powdered sugar. So I stopped by a coffee place that's not very far from where I lived, and I just documented that because I loved it was an eggnog latte. I loved that. So I just put a couple of green stars on there, and that kind of sits here. And it sits on a piece of vellum that's acting as a divider because there was so much going on in the next page that I didn't like how they both sat together. So you'll see that. And I didn't put anything on this because I liked the way this sat there. All right, the next page is a day where I was babysitting my grandsons, and we opened their Christmas presents that day as well before Mom and Dad left. And here's, again, I've got wood on all these. These 3 pieces are the new thin wood veneer, and then this is also the thin one. I was thinking this was the older one. And I have some staples in here. So I guess I was doing staples further into the book. I think it's just been the last week or so that I haven't done any. And like I said, I may go back and do a few, I may not. This one is just another, this is the part 2 of that story. I just wrote the date on the back of this because I didn't have the date on the front here anywhere. I could have put it on the journaling card, but that was just sticking out, so I thought, why not? And my numbers over here. You know, I like to forget to put numbers on if you watch me. This next page is Christmas Eve. So I didn't take a lot of photos on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day this year. I was really just in the moment, which I think was a good thing. So I used 2 photos to represent Christmas Eve and just to talk about my feelings about that day, because in some ways it was kind of a bittersweet gathering. So I talked about that and what that meant to me. Why this Christmas Eve is a little bit different than the past Christmas Eves. This is the 25th. So again, I didn't take a lot of photos here. So I took one of, and I did have other ones, but these were just the 2 I chose to use. Lots of journaling here, and then the sweet table that we had started there, and then my family playing cards as we like to do. And then the next 2 pages are gifts that I got from my family members, just this next page are gifts that, these 2 go together, are gifts that I got from my family members. And I really liked these 4 presents, and they kind of nailed things about me. So it was really cool. This is a pair of LuLaRoe camera leggings, which I wore yesterday for this first time. My sister-in-law sells them, but they're so soft. But the fact that they're cameras and that she thought of me when she saw them come in just is so cool. So anyway, I really like the way this turned out. The other tip I can give you is this was a circle that said December 25th. And if I see pieces that I know I want to use on specific days, I will stick them in open pockets, in like blank pockets that I have in the back, so that I have to look at them a lot and remember that. And I like to do that with anything that says the 25th, because I can only use things that say the 25th on the 25th. I have some stickers still that I think they're 2 or 3 years old, because I don't stick them in and I keep forgetting about it. So, and then here, same thing, this flare badge was in there with that too, so that I remember to use them. So those are used up and I don't have them laying around, because trust me, there will be more products that say 25 on them next year. All right, this next page is a page that I love, but when I did it, it kept looking like a baby page to me because it's aqua and pink, and it just looked like a boy-girl page. So what I did is I came back earlier or late last week, and I put some green enamel dots on all of the pages to help kind of alleviate that a little bit. It still looks very babyish to me, you know, and if I'd used maybe a green journaling card here, that would have helped, but it is what it is, and it's still a really pretty page. And then what I did here is I hadn't used any of these bingo cards, which are quite a few years old. Sometimes I use them like this, where I just do this. Sometimes I'll put a photo on the front and journaling on the back, and that's my day, or it's an addition to a day. In this particular case, it's just a fun little thing. This was the 26th of December, and I did just a tiny bit of after Christmas shopping for some clothes for me. And so I highlighted naughty or nice, just what I wanted, and gifts on there. And then that's laying on a piece of, like, this is like die cut mulberry paper, basically, is what this is. And it's very old. I don't remember where it's from. So if you have questions, I'm sorry, that one I will not be able to answer you. And then these two pages didn't work well together because this is so pink and blue. And then I put this photo of the main tree in my house. I put that in there and they weren't working. So that's why I put this piece of paper in between as a divider. I just used some wood buttons here. I used another acrylic word, and now that I see that this one is actually on the inside, but it seems not to be slipping. I think there's more room here because it's a 6x8 page, so I'll just leave that as is. I think if I took this off of this is matte photo paper, it might actually damage that, so I'm going to leave that. This is my nativity scene. This was a work day as well as the last one where I didn't have a lot going on. So I just use pieces and papers or pictures from around the house. I take the photos and then I stick them in like a 6x8 pocket in the back of my album. And if I come upon a day where I really don't have anything, that's where I do this. This nativity is over 30 years old, and I just wanted to make sure I documented that I'm still using it. It's still around the house. And if you saw this video, you saw me fight with this Merry Christmas wood veneer. I broke it about 3 or 4 times, so eek. It's looking okay. You know, at one point I think this is covering a flaw, but it's fine. I'm the one who'll know about this. This page was the page that was the bane of my existence for some reason. It's a really simple page, but it took me forever to make, and I don't remember why now. That's good, because I mean, this was only like 3 days ago. I just had lots of problems, and I think when I originally did this is something different. When I did this, I didn't have this on it, and it just looked really empty. So I saw that when I was going through one day, and then I was working with my blue envelope of die cuts and cut aparts, and I saw this one that said the story, and I put that up there and moved this heart that was down here up there, and it really helps this page. So, and this is another one of those where I had to take the flare button off. This is this was Friday, the 2 days before the first of the year, and just again, I didn't have anything too exciting going on, but I did go get my cats some food, and I picked up a new toy for them. So this is one of my 2 cats. This is Lucy, who is very sassy, and she is playing with a new toy. So I just did that, and kind of like how I was able to use a puffy sticker presents and that kind of thing. This is New Year's Eve. It's a little, it's a story of my family. My 2 nephews, who are both married, were home, and we got together in the afternoon and did a little wine tasting. And I like the way I wanted to use this good cheer a couple of times for when I went out to dinner with people or that kind of thing, but it never seemed to work out. And finally I remembered I had it and stuck it in the back of my page because I knew I was going to do this wine tasting a couple days ahead of time. Stuck it in the back so that I would use it, and I did. And then this is just pictures of all of us. Pretty minimal embellishments here. Part of it is that there's a lot going on in all of these pictures. And lastly, this is my page for today. This is for January 1st, and I just love the way this looks. I love how it closes out the book. I like how it coordinates with the calendar in the back and just how festive it feels. This is something I pulled off of Facebook and just printed, and I did remember to put my date on there after I finished the video. And then I grabbed just a bunch of sequins and threw them on this card and then manipulated them a little bit. But I just love how this looks really festive. One of the things I didn't do a lot of was I didn't use a lot of glitter paper. So I'm going to go back and make some notes on just a sticky sheet, and I'll put it in the lid of my iris container that I keep all my Christmas supplies in, and I'll do that. And then this is a calendar that I use every year. Some years I stick it to the very back if it ends like this. Sometimes my last page will be a 6x8 page protector with it scrapbooked as a page on one side and then this calendar on the other side. But this just kind of tells me like the things that were going on during my Christmas season and just the fun that I had and those kinds of things. So that is it. Thank you, everybody. Boy, this has been a super fun process. It has been more work than I had imagined that it would be, but it's also been more rewarding than I could have possibly imagined that it would be. That just all of your kind comments and the new subscribers, just the kind comments for people who have been following me since I started this. I started my channel last January, so it hasn't even been quite a year yet that since I started my channel. It was a really rewarding project to do this project with all of you. This is, by the way, the 10th year I've done this, so this is book number 10 for me, and I am as much in love with this project today as I was when I first started it. I've done this project through really good years and through really bad years in the midst of some personal crises and those kinds of things. But even those books I look back on because this almost becomes for me like a gratitude journal as I'm doing this. And some days it's just gratitude for little things like my silly cats with their new toy, that kind of a thing. But it's a really cool process, and it doesn't have to be very elaborate. This is fairly elaborate, but it doesn't have to be. My very first December daily was taking off it was in 2007, and it was from I took a Heidi Swapp class called A Year to Remember. In October, we did a little booklet that was a 4x6 photo on one side, and on the back side was a journaling box or card, and then you could write, and I happen to have stamps or something that I used, but that's all it was. And I made the front cover of it. It's just cardstock, so it's one photo, one piece, and once in a while I had some sort of embellishment to what this is today. But that book is as memorable and as meaningful as this one will be, and actually is right now. So again, everybody, thanks for joining me. I will be back in the new year. I'm going to continue doing videos on Tuesdays and Saturdays. If you have anything you want to see me do, let me know, and I will try to accommodate you. I can tell you there are certain things that I may not, just because I'm not a huge mixed media scrapbooker, although I will throw that in from time to time. But anyway, so again, thanks. I wish you all a happy and prosperous new year. Take care, everybody. Bye.